Coming up on Locked on Dodgers, beat LA sounds so much fun when the other team's fans chant it. The Dodgers thought they'd try it, so they beat quote unquote LA, the team down the road, 2-0. Clayton Kershaw did GOAT things. Caleb Ferguson looked like the Caleb Ferguson who we wish existed, and a lot of good stuff happened in this game. And we got all that and a ton of pitching notes. So let's get Locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked on Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked on Dodgers, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked on Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked on Dodgers. Or even better, go ahead and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. Then you can be an everydayer just like we are. If this is your first time with us, I am Jeff Snider. That guy next to me is Vince Samperio. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like you are. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room. So we're not quite insiders, but we bring you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And Vince, you and I had the same idea for a tweet. The only difference was that you had the guts to tweet it before the game was over, and I did not. I'm not generally superstitious, but I did feel like I needed to wait until the bullpen finished not sucking before I said Dave Roberts is a lot smarter when the bullpen pitches well. And you said something along those same lines just an inning earlier than I did. I saw it right after I tweeted mine. Yeah, you know, the Dodgers won the game 2-0. Clayton Kershaw was outstanding. We're going to talk about Kershaw in a second. Everything about this was like what we hoped the Dodgers could be. The offense didn't really do much. They only scored 2 runs and, you know, got a little bit lucky on those. But, you know, Clayton Kershaw did what Clayton Kershaw needed to do. It's what he's done so many times in his 16 years with the Dodgers, just coming in and being that shutdown starter who gets the job done. I don't know. I don't know what words to say about Clayton Kershaw because what we saw tonight was just, you know, Jerry Harrison said after the game, after Kershaw's retired, when people ask me to describe Kershaw, I'm just going to show him that 7th inning when it was 2nd and 3rd, nobody out and a scoreless game. And he kept it scoreless. That was, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. And this is what the 3rd or 4th time already this season where the Dodgers are coming off either a losing streak or a bad loss, and Kershaw just completely does what they need to do. You know, helps the bullpen out, even though they didn't have an off day, but still helps the bullpen out and helps the Dodgers out. And the Dodgers ended up rewarding him late at the last possible moment in order for him to get that win. Or did he get the win?
Yeah, he got the win.
Yeah, I forgot that they were not the home team because it was very much a home game at Angel Stadium for Dodgers. But yeah, I mean, Clayton Kershaw did what he has done this year, has done what he's done his entire career. And like, I tweeted it right after that 8th inning. I tweeted something like, you know, it's nobody complains about the manager when the bullpen does his job. And I felt like it was at that time because, you know, Evan Phillips closes it out. And if he doesn't do well and people complain about Roberts, then that just means they don't like Robert. Like there was only one option for Dave Roberts to do in that 9th inning, and if that didn't work out and you still blamed him, then you just have that bias already.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that in the second segment. That decision, what went into it, and you know, the fact that it did work out pretty spectacularly. You were there in Anaheim at this game. I was watching on TV, and like you mentioned, to me on TV, it definitely sounded like a very pro Dodgers crowd. Not quite as much as Dodger Stadium, maybe, but you know, probably more pro Dodgers than say a Dodgers Yankees game at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, it was. I mean, late in the game, there was "Let's go Dodger" chants in that moment when Kershaw had the 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Like the crowd was behind him. There was, you know, the crowd was behind him. There was "Let's go Dodger" chants. You know, the Angel fans. The jumbotron was telling them to be louder. I don't know if they were being louder or not. And then there was, Mookie got chance there late in the game, even though he didn't come through. Freddie got chance there late in the game. Yeah, the crowd was very pro Dodger, which was a little bit surprising to me considering this is the first time since 2014 that the Angels came in with the better record in the Freeway Series. I thought, maybe they would have been a little bit more forceful, but maybe they're shaving it for Ohtani. I know the ticket price difference between Tuesday and Wednesday is a lot because Ohtani's throwing Wednesday, so maybe that's what they're waiting for. But yeah, and when it comes to Kershaw, I think the stat that stands out is, Ohtani and Trout 0 for against him. They both have bad numbers against him in their career, and that just continued on. And he made Ohtani look really bad on one of the strikeouts, I think, in the second at bat on a slider out of the zone. So when Ohtani, who was coming into the game as the AL Player of the Week, as one of the hottest hitters in baseball, for Kershaw to just shut that down multiple times. And to end that inning, second and third, nobody out, get out of that inning, take care. That bottom of the order for the Angels is not good. Like, he was not facing good major league hitters. And, on the flip side, the Dodgers have bottom of the orders like that sometimes. And rarely they come through. Sometimes they don't. And, Kershaw took care of what he needed to take care of.
Yeah, Kershaw's ERA for the season now is down to 2.72. Which is bad for him. That's the craziest thing. It's still, so far he's having a bad Clayton Kershaw season, and he's tied for the league lead in wins and top 10 in ERA, and just, it's crazy what he does. And that inning, yeah, I mean, knowing where the lineup was, and obviously it made it easier for Roberts to stick with Kershaw. No, okay, you know what? It's 7, 8, 9 coming up, or I guess 6, 7, 8, 9. It took him 4 batters to get the 3 outs. But even Velasquez, the 9 hitter, he was the only guy on the team. Kershaw hadn't gotten out yet that night. It was, he had a walk and then a base hit. And I don't know. I don't know if anybody asked Miguel Rojas or Kershaw after the game. They showed on the broadcast that after the walk to whoever it was, Rengifo, to load the bases, Rojas went over, like Smith came out and had a mound visit with Kershaw, and Rojas went in and he stuck around a little bit after Smith and said something, like had something very specific to say to Kershaw, and then first pitch, ground ball to right to Rojas. So I wonder what that was. And then after Rojas's double in the bottom of the 8th, or the top of the 8th, and then after he scored the first run of the game, he stopped and he talked to Mookie and to Freddie and told them something about Chris Davinsky, I assume. So it was kind of interesting to see Rojas kind of playing that role and just always looking for an edge and talking to them. I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear some of these things Rojas is saying. I mean, I guess we could talk briefly about that 2-run rally, the luck part of it. The Dodgers' luck hasn't really gone their way lately.
Field advantage on that bounce.
Yeah, it was, so it's runner on second, 1 out. Rojas was on second, and Michael Busch hit what looked like it was going to be a ground ball to first to move Rojas to third base. Okay, moved him over. And instead, the ball, I don't know what it hit, because it didn't hit the lip of the grass. It was just on the dirt. I don't know if there's a rock or if somebody had a remote control on the ball. Whatever it was, I'm in favor of it, because the ball just bounced right over the first baseman's head. He never had a chance at it. Turns into an RBI single, scoring what turned out to be the winning run. And then, Will Smith drives in an insurance run later. But Will Smith, Mookie Betts in between that, Mookie Betts popped out. That would have been the 3rd out of the inning if Bush's had been a ground out. And so that's a scoreless inning if not for the lucky hop. And I feel like as Dodger fans, we deserve that lucky hop.
Yeah, it looked like the movie Angels in the Outfield, where Christopher Lloyd has like the ball and he's just like moving it and you can't see him. So it looks something like that. Yeah, and Will Smith nearly put him up 3-0. He just missed a double off the wall, ended up coming through with the base hit anyway. So yeah, it was and there was a great play by Will Smith at the plate when a run might have scored earlier on. Rojas had him dead to right, had Drury dead to rights. Throw was offline. Will Smith made a great recovery and tag that had to go get reviewed. And so it was just all around, everything went the Dodgers' way that night.
Yeah, Smith after the game actually said something interesting. He said because of instant replay, he doesn't worry about where he tags the guy. He said, I'm just diving and trying to tag him as soon as I can, knowing that the optics don't matter because the camera will tell us if he was safe or out. And so I just wanted to get the tag on. And yeah, the C flap saved him because it was literally, he tagged the C flap of the runner coming home. I don't think I got anything else before the shoulder. And so if not for that C flap, which means, 8 years ago, Drury would have been safe at the plate when nobody was wearing C flaps. But now everybody's wearing C flaps and he was out because of it. So good news for the Dodgers. So we're going to come back in a minute. We're going to talk about Caleb Ferguson coming in to pitch the 8th inning against the heart of the Angels lineup, that decision, how it paid off and all of that. So thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Look, buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Whether you want to go to a game, you want to go to a concert, a comedy show, theater tickets, whatever it is, it shouldn't be stressful. You shouldn't have to plan months and months in advance. Game Time has killer deals on last minute tickets and their best price guarantee. So you can stop stressing over the tickets. You can start getting hyped for all the fun you'll have. So you don't got to plan months in advance. You don't, the best price guarantee. It's awesome. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time credits you 110% of the difference. So you can actually make money on the deal, but you're not going to find a better deal because the reason they offer it is because they're really good at finding you the best price. And so you can get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you're there. You can buy tickets in seconds. It's super fast. I've bought tickets through Game Time myself. It is so easy to buy tickets, and they're sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, we are back. We want to thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. If you are watching this on YouTube, we'd love to hear from you in the YouTube comment section. If you're listening on the podcast, we'd love to hear from you through social media or email or whatever. We'll give you all that contact info at the end like we always do. And we also want to remind you, if you can't catch tonight's game on TV, you can always catch the local Dodgers radio broadcast on Sirius XM or the SXM app. Just launch the SXM app and search for Dodgers. You can also listen to this podcast on the SXM app. Just search for Locked On Dodgers because that's the name of the show. And with that, let's talk about that. We'll set it up in case you weren't watching the game at the moment. I assume everybody's watched, so we're not going to belabor all the details. But the Dodgers had just taken a lead. Kershaw went 7 great innings. Top of the 8th inning, Dodgers scored 2 runs, so it's 2-0. And Dave Roberts brings in Caleb Ferguson to pitch the bottom of the 8th inning to face Taylor Ward, Shohei Ohtani, and Mike Trout. It is the best part of the Angels lineup. It's the best part of a lot of lineups. Especially Trout is having a down year by Trout standards. Ohtani is not. And it was a gutsy move, and we've talked a lot this year about how Dave Roberts has not been shy about going to Evan Phillips in high leverage situations or earlier in the game, not necessarily saving him for the 9th inning. And I don't think he was saving Phillips for the 9th inning here. I think it was, of the 6 batters coming up, and the top 6 batters in the Angels lineup, Shohei Ohtani was the only lefty. And so if you're going with Caleb Ferguson, even though it's Shohei Ohtani, it's still the best matchup for Ferguson. And he felt like, obviously Dave Roberts still trusts Caleb Ferguson. And it's one of those things where if that had backfired, if the Angels score a run or 2 in that inning, I mean, Dave Roberts just would have got just crucified on Twitter and everywhere else. But because Ferguson pitched great, it's a good decision. And for me, it's a good decision either way, because you need to get 6 outs. Evan Phillips is only going to get 3 of those for you. And so, put Phillips in the best situation to succeed too, because Phillips against Ohtani is a worse matchup for him. And so it put both guys in their best position to succeed, knowing that you need both of these guys to succeed. One of them succeeding isn't going to be enough. So you need both of them. And so I loved the decision when he made the decision. I was very stressed about it, but that was because of Caleb Ferguson, not because of Dave Roberts. And I am so hoping that this gives Ferguson whatever he needs to remember, oh yeah, I'm a really, really good pitcher.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, what 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, whenever that again the Reds, so probably like 3 weeks ago. Before those 3 weeks, like this would have been a decision that you don't really blink at. Like, hey, you know what? Caleb Ferguson's been one of the Dodgers' best relievers for the most part, and he's gonna face him. And he struggled the last couple weeks, but he still like the stuff never wavered. He just lost command that one time, and then gave up a home run the other time. Like the pitch that he gave up the home run on wasn't even a bad pitch. Schwarber just beat him. So like there's things to look at, and that's probably one of the things they're looking at. Roberts after the game said that I think in this moment in time, left-handers are having a little bit of success. That's how about against the Angels lineup. And it's nice when you can go to a left-hander named Caleb Ferguson and feel good about that. So, I don't know the numbers of left-handers for the Angels or against the Angels lineup, but Kershaw just did well the entire game. So clearly there was some reason for it, not just I want Caleb Ferguson to feel better about himself. And the fact of the matter is, like I said, the way to get out of this rut is for guys to do their job, and you have to allow guys to do their job. And, the other part of it is Hunter Renfroe was kind of one of the hottest hitters of the night. And, that might have been something you save Phillips for. Like, not saying Ohtani and Trout are like, even that they went over, it's not like, oh my God, you should, they're saving for Renfroe. But, Renfroe was the guy that was hitting last night, and Renfroe has hurt the Dodgers in the past, so if you want to go based on that, then yeah, you might want to save. There's a lot of factors to it, but I think all in all, the way you're going to get out of it is going to the guys that, have shown that the stuff is there, and they just had a couple bad outings. If he had went to Vesia in that inning, that's a whole different story because Vesia's stuff is kind of there, not really, and he also hasn't been having good outings.
Yeah. Renfroe and Drury were the pair on the overturned call at the plate. Renfroe and Drury were the two guys on base in the seventh inning. Like that was the part of the lineup that was doing it. It kind of shows you how much of a funk they've in that you couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, that Red Series. That was only 2 weeks ago, Vince. That first game of the Red Series 2 weeks ago tonight. And it feels like it was, it's been the longest 2 weeks of our lives as the Dodgers have just struggled and struggled and struggled. But, here we are, not going to lose this series, which is awesome. And Evan Phillips looked great as he almost always does. I love the strikeout of Drury that he got Drury totally guessing slider and then just pumps a fastball right past him. Drury never had a chance to even swing the bat. Both guys hit 98 on the gun. And I know both guys throw hard, but I don't think both Ferguson and Phillips generally throw 98. I think of them more as like 96, occasionally touching 97 kind of guys. And they both, Ferguson's first pitch of the game was 98, and Phillips had a 98 later in the game. So I think they were pumped for this.
Yeah. And, like I said, the crowd was raw. It felt like a home game. So like you have the crowd behind you. You had the day off. Like, I don't think either of them pitched Sunday, and they had the day off Monday. Like, if more starters can keep going deep, they had the day off Monday, day off Thursday, you can see the bullpen take shape a little bit in the sense of, they have rest, and they're, Ferguson had thrown 4 or 6, I think, as of last week, and Phillips had 2 going into the weekend, had thrown like 4 of the last 6. So like they were, they've been used a lot. And that's the other part that, like, when we look at some of these decisions, this one coming off a day off and, a weekend where they didn't really have to use big arms, maybe not so much, but like other times when we think like, oh man, why didn't Roberts go to this guy? Well, yeah, he didn't pitch yesterday, but he threw the 2 days before that, and he threw 3 of the 5 days before that. Then you're in 4 out of 6 territory, and you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, Phillips did pitch on Sunday, but that was because he hadn't pitched much in the previous games, and so he threw 14 pitches on Sunday. But yeah, set it up like both of those guys are going to be available again tonight because they both had relatively quick innings, and with the day off on Thursday, so that's your 2 high leverage guys. So yeah, the bullpen is set up pretty well. We're going to come back in a minute. We're going to talk about the pitching situation. We have word on who's pitching for the Dodgers today. We're going to talk about that and roster moves that will necessitate, and some rehabbing guys, bunch of little pitching notes that we need to talk about that are pretty important right now. So thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. We are back. We want to thank you again for making us your first listen every weekday morning. Thanks for being an everydayer. If you are an everydayer, if you're not an everydayer, guess what? It's a super easy club to join. You just watch or listen every day. Watch and listen every day. Hashtag double everydayer. We love our everydayers. We love all you listeners, but we love the everydayers a little bit more. So if you want us to love you a little bit more, just listen every day. And if you want to check out the Dodgers hometown radio broadcast of tonight's game or any game, you can do that on SiriusXM or the SXM app. Just search for Dodgers on the SXM app, or you can listen to this show by searching for Locked On Dodgers on that very same SXM app. And so we've got news. Dave Roberts said after the game, I'm just scrolling Twitter to see if I missed anything else that he said, but Dave Roberts said that Michael Grove will be starting for the Dodgers on Wednesday. Michael Grove is currently in the minor leagues and can't be called back up unless somebody goes on the injured list. And so that means somebody's going on the injured list, and it depends on who it's going to be, or we can wonder who it's going to be. Eric Steven put out a tweet kind of laying out the situation of the bullpen of who it might be. You assume it's going to be a reliever going on the IL because it has to be a pitcher, and they can't really afford to put a starting pitcher on the IL unless he's actually injured, and hopefully none of them are. But so Phillips and Ferguson pitched tonight. Almonte and Gratterall both pitched on Sunday. Vesia and Robertson pitched on Saturday. Gratterall pitched on Friday. Also, Shelby Miller pitched on Thursday. And so it seems to me like Nick Robertson probably has some arm fatigue or lower body soreness or something, right?
Yeah, I mean that would be the guy based on, the roster situation and how it goes, and probably the lowest reliever on the totem pole right now. I did wonder slightly if they considered Gonsolin on like just knowing how his body has been. They're expecting Julio to be back. Julio's expected to throw a bullpen, or he threw a bullpen, and he's expected to do a rehab start in Rancho on Sunday, and then should come back after that. I don't think they can really take that chance right now, but if they did want to take that chance right now, might be the time. But yeah, other than that, I think it's got to be Nick Robertson, and Nick Robertson could be thanking, if that is the case, Nick Robertson can thank the way everything's situated, because he'll get paid still a major league pay, even though he probably likely would have been optioned if they didn't have to use IL stint.
Yeah. And I guess another option would be Ryan Brasier, who they just called up. Maybe he got his back tightened up on the airplane. You never know with the Dodgers, but the Dodgers did call up Ryan Brasier to add to the bullpen. They had optioned Brian Hudson the day before on the off day, but to make room for Brasier, he was not on the 40-man roster, and so they had to make room for him on the 40-man roster, and they did it in a surprising way. They DFA'd Andre Jackson, which Jackson has pitched pretty well for the Dodgers. Other than that, the game when he was tipping his pitches, he's pitched pretty well. It seems like he's probably going to be leaving the organization. Either somebody will claim him or they'll trade him. I guess there's a chance he could clear waivers and stay in the organization, but it seems like he's probably on his way out. Were you surprised that Andre Jackson was that corresponding move, Vince?
Yeah, it was definitely surprising, just for, like you said, the simple fact of he's a healthy arm that has had some success. And, that you're calling up Ryan Brasier, who didn't have success this year, struggled with the Red Sox, but has had success in the past. And there's other guys on the roster that, maybe could have fit that bill. They finally ran out of guys to throw on the 60 days. So, that wouldn't have worked out. But yeah, I mean, it was surprising, but I think it's one of those things where it's surprising, kind of like the Edwin Rios situation in the offseason. Like, it was surprising, but then when you see the roster crunch that's either upcoming or imminent, you're like, okay, I guess it makes a little bit more sense. But losing a healthy arm when you are down a lot of guys, it was very interesting. But as we transition into getting guys back, Julio, like I mentioned, supposed to pitch for Rancho on Sunday, then come back after that. Daniel Hudson is now with OKC doing his rehab. Jimmy Nelson had been throwing in the Arizona League. He just got moved to OKC. He's going to start doing his rehab. Phil Bickford just got moved to OKC. He's going to be doing his rehab. So assuming most of those guys get right, there is guys coming back, and some of those guys were on the 60-day, and there's going to be other moves that have to come when those guys come back.
Yeah, just a quick count of guys who are on the 60-day injured list right now, who we do expect back at some point in the season. Alphabetically speaking, out Walker Buehler, JP Fireeisen, Daniel Hudson, Dustin May, Jimmy Nelson, Ryan Pepio, and maybe Blake Trinan. So you've got several guys who you're going to have to make roster spots for. The only position player on the 60-day right now who is maybe expected back this year is Trace Thompson, and I don't think they're going to DFA anybody for Trace. But those guys. So yeah, you look at a guy like Tyler Sear is also on the 60-day injured list. You know what? He's probably a pretty easy DFA when the time comes that they need that spot. And even Ryan Brasier is probably getting DFA'd again at some point. Yeah, I mean, even look at this, like, who else do you get? Like Nick Robertson. I don't think they want to DFA him. Maybe his lower body soreness turns into a 60-day lower body soreness or something. Ricky Vanasco is a guy who they actually traded for. So theoretically they must be high-ish on him. So probably not going to DFA him, but I mean, there's going to be roster crunch, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. And maybe that'll be part of the trade deadline is, clearing up some roster crunch or something. It's wild, but it was weird to see Andre Jackson get DFA'd, but like you said, in the context, it probably makes sense, especially because Jackson, I don't know that he has much upside. Like, it's hard to picture Andre Jackson pitching important innings in the World Series. And that's what the Dodgers look for right now, is a guy to pitch important innings in the World Series, not a guy to come in and get a 3-inning save every once in a while in a blowout game. Yeah,
I mean, somewhat similar to Mitch White last year when they traded him. Is like, he had value in the moment, but realistically, if Mitch White is pitching for you in the playoffs, probably something went wrong. Like, he reached a peak that he probably was never gonna surpass. So yeah, and maybe he'll clear. I don't think so, but if he does clear, maybe he sticks around. I don't know what his thought process is, but yeah. And then one other guy that you touched on, Ryan Pepio, Andrew Friedman, before the game was hanging out around the dugout, and he said that he was starting a throwing program. Realistically, that means he's starting from scratch, similar to like start of spring training. So it's got to be at least another month and a half, 2 months before he's ready to go. But at least he's starting a throwing program.
Yep. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure to see what's going on the pitching front. But you can picture it getting a little bit better on the bullpen front between guys coming back. If this is the start of things turning around for Caleb Ferguson, that's awesome. A lot of different things could start to go right, which would be really good for the Dodgers, because their schedule is, I'm not going to say it's easy, because that's what we said earlier, and it didn't turn out that way. But after they play, they finish with the Angels, one more game, 3 against the Astros, but then it's the Rockies, and then the Royals, and then the Pirates, and then the Angels again. And that's till the All-Star break. And so, even though the Pirates are playing well this year, I don't know that they're actually a good team. So, there's potential for the Dodgers to get hot a little bit, and could even make a move by the All-Star break if the bullpen can get the job done.
Yeah. And then, but like I said, the whole division starting to turn around a little bit. The Giants have won 9 in a row now. The Diamondbacks keep winning. The Padres were playing well, but then they just lost 2 to the Giants thanks to their bullpen. So, yeah, the Dodgers are in a spot right now where they need to take advantage of getting healthy. And if they do get healthy, take advantage of a softer spot in the, and the weird part is that we talked about May being that spot, like a tough spot. And then they did great in May. And now June has kind of been where they've struggled. So,
yeah. All right. I think that's going to do it for us for today. I want to thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Also want to remind you can catch the hometown radio broadcast of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM app. Just search for Dodgers. You can find us on Instagram and on Twitter at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSense91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog. The DMs are open in all of those places. Our email address is lockedondodgers@gmail.com. And our phone number for voicemails or text messages is 323-863-LOCK-5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one.